Ulonkata bati yada tó yẹ kó máa da ifá. Inú tó yẹ kó jẹun ló fi bí pa. Ọba tálá, ọba takuntakun. Ṣàngó, Èṣù, Ògún, Ọya, Ọ̀ṣun. Ìwọ ló ń bọ̀ nílé. Kí ni ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tán ṣe nílé yìí o? Ó jẹ́ lọ jára rẹ̀.
Alafia, peace and power, family. Welcome to another episode of the African Spiritual Experience. I'm your host, Orisha Bami, and we back, family. We're back for round 2 today, man, in the building. Shout out to everybody who made it to the first stream. Shout out to Sekmet Ma'at, Miss Mariana, for coming through and doing what she do, bringing that divine feminine energy up in the Ashe streets. And shout out to everybody who joined the YouTube channel, the Patreon channel, the all the memberships. We did definitely give gratitude and thanks to all of y'all, family. And without further ado, man, we're ready to jump back into this edition of the War Report, man. So peace and blessings, brother Bdell. What's good with you, family? How you doing, brother?
How you doing, brother? And I appreciate you having me back on your platform. And salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to your family over on this side. So we finna make it make sense tonight.
Already.
Back with another War Report.
Yes, sir. Like we always do about this time. Government gaslighting, fake-ass messiahs, and all types of fuckery. So, yeah, we ready to get this thing cracking, man. Yes, sir. So before we get into the deep diving, man, I'll serve up some appetizers, you know, food for thought for the tribe and for the family, for those coming in. I got a chance to check out the Michael Jackson download you did, man. That was dope with the transmission that you did with the mic and the you know, all the different aspects and elements of mic, the Zohar body, you know, so all the elements. And then I definitely liked the clip that you played from brother Bobby Hemmett as well.
Yeah,
Master Elder, man. So before we get into tonight's topic and show ahead, man, you want to share a little bit about some of the significance in between, you know, the work that you did with that particular presentation and why it's relevant to what we're about to get into tonight and what we've seen over the last several years of what's happening right now in real time.
Well, what makes it relevant during this time period, I was showing my audience about how Michael Jackson was actually the personification of the archetype of Mikail. And Mikail is basically the warrior archetype of Melchizedek. And Melchizedek is also known as the priest king. So when you get into biblical context, they talk about in Revelations 12, they say that Mikail slays the dragon, and the dragon is the personification of Satan, which is Saturn. So now when you're talking about the deep state shadow government, the energy extraction matrix, the Metatronic overlay that controls the great majority of people, places, and possessions in the three-dimensional world, what I'm saying is that Saturn represents that old infrastructure. It represents an old paradigm. And Mikail is what slays the dragon. And the significance of it, you know, is acclimated to the timeline that we're basically on right now, because like I said, we're in Revelations. This is the time of the Great Tribulation period, because when you got to understand that when you get into wordology, the word words is an anagram for the word sword. So Mikail, by way of truth, is the energy that basically reverses the polarity of the energy that was perpetuated by the Piscean age of darkness and the archonic forces who gave the power to the Canaanites. Now, even when you look at, you know, another aspect of it, I was just showing how Michael Jackson, a lot of his logos and stuff that he demonstrated in his movies was based upon the exposure of Saturn. I talked about how he only, you know, taped up every other finger except the middle finger, because the middle finger represents Saturn. And he left that free because it represented ownership and liberation. He even came out with an album called Escape. And I basically extrapolated on how, the significance of his energy and that he propagated in his music. He wanted to break free from Saturn. He wanted to have an autonomous energy within the infrastructure of his career. So that's what he basically dedicated his life to. Is really just based on the fact that he was just trying to liberate himself from the dark forces of the music industry.
And it's a very, very dark industry for real. And you know, Mike was dope because a lot of things that he did, everything he did was symbolic. And I don't know if I missed that part. Did you touch the Remember the Time video when he did Ancient Kemet and all that too? Oh, I missed that.
I talked about that because
that was powerful too.
because the ancient order of the spirit of Melchizedek, in order to activate the golden light body, you have to activate your 7 energy cortexes. You have to be in alignment to be in tune. That's when you're talking about going from lead to gold. So that's why I said he played in the Wizard of Oz. Remember, he was the scarecrow. You cannot become God until you activate your brain. The scarecrow needed the brain, and they went up the yellow brick road, which is basically the embodiment of the gold elixir that's connected to the golden light body of Melchizedek, which is the spiritual energy of Mikail. Mikail is the warrior version. Melchizedek is the spiritual hierarchical version. And that's when I was talking about the Zohar body. The Zohar body is really connected to the Doomsday clock. And I'm gonna tell you that because the Doomsday clock is they moved it to 85 seconds to midnight, because when you speak truth to power, it reverses the polarity of everything in the ethers because of the octave vibrations. So the 8 and the 5 was also interconnected to the throat chakra and your higher self at the same time. I did a whole transmission on it. It is a certain word that I basically demonstrated in that transmission to where you can actually understand what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that within that transmission I did, the 85 seconds to midnight represents the energy of people speaking truth to power. And then also that's also in alignment with Gemini being in conjunction with Uranus all the way up in the time of 2033. And Gemini is interconnected to Thoth, who is Tahuti, who was also the spirit of Melchizedek. You see what I'm saying? So that's how you know that what time it is on the planet right now. But yeah, that's what I was saying. It creates time dilation. When you reverse the polarity and you use your tongue as a sword, those octave vibrations create electromagnetic energy that manipulates the telluric patterns that's connected to the magnetic field of the planet. So when you speak truth to power, and when you see the Schumann resonance spiking, that's us. We raising that shit up. That's because, like I said, the truth has the ability to manipulate physical matter, because truth moves on the vibration of a circular energy. It's a portal. Just when you be like, well, Christianity is fake. Just imagine like a portal of information manipulating the Metatronic overlay, because our simulation is made up of what? Subatomic particles. And then when you get into the sigil of Melchizedek, it is a square interlocking with a circle, right? That's why some people in the esoterics, they call it squaring the circle or circling the square, because it represents the 2 celestial bodies in the simulation, which is the sun and the moon, which controls the great majority of metaphysical magic.
And one of the things too, and I'm not sure if you touched on this part, but one of the things that I find to be really dope about the presence and the essence of Melchizedek is if I'm not mistaken, he also was known to have 720 degrees of wisdom and knowledge, right? Of light knowledge. Okay, and so that's 360 degrees of both. So can you kind of break down the significance of that when you talk about him being the one who, even in the Bible, they talk about he was the only one that had the ability to defeat the devil, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep. Because one thing you got to understand about Melchizedek, the energy is also interconnected to Thoth or Tahuti, which represents equilibrium and balance. So when you talk about Melchizedek, it is a balance between the social order and the political order, or the spiritual realm or the physical realm. And you put them both together, that's equated to 720 degrees of knowledge, because it's interconnected to the geometrical shapes of the square and the circle, because a square and a circle both equate to 306 degrees, because that means that they're able to live on 2 different dimensional planes. So that's why I'm talking about, when you speak truth to power, you're squaring the circle. You become that Melchizedek energy. You become your Zohar that interfaces with your throat chakra to where you speak these things into existence. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's just like your higher self is giving you a level up to speak that real shit. You get what I'm saying? So it's another way. It's kind of like a cosmic transmission. You know what I'm saying? It's another way to where you're basically able to receive, because that's when you get into the Sufi order of the Sons of Green Light. And Dr. Malachi York's book, he talks about in that order how the color green is also interchangeable with the color white. Because green is the most divine color, or the most divine vibration within the infrastructure of the color spectrum in our simulation. So yeah, so yeah, that's a real thing, bro.
Yeah.
Just
Oh yeah.
the sacred geometry plays a part on how to manipulate, the dark magic and the incantations that's coming from the deep state and these corporations. So
Yeah.
that Melchizedek energy in itself, 360 degrees of the political, social, and 360 degrees of the spiritual and the physical at the same time.
All mathematics. And shout out to the Geminis out there too, man, because if I'm not mistaken, the so-called Messiah, at least they presented themselves as a Messiah, but I guess they doubled back and removed themselves as a Messiah. But anywho, I would feel like that's a dark version of the Geminis, because that I don't really even feel like that's a real Gemini. I'm putting an eviction notice on that bastard. He's not part of the Gemini clan. But anywho, but that's dope that the Gemini is tied to Tahuti and to Thoth, because that's a very powerful deity in regards to being the god of wisdom. You know what I'm saying? The god of knowledge and wisdom, and understanding, overstanding, understanding, etc. So when it comes to what we're seeing now, to the topic at hand, gaslighting and fake messiahs, right? So when it comes to the peace talks and the so-called working out a deal and all these things of that nature with Iran, how do you feel like that is really happening? Like, what's really happening behind the scenes with that? And is that something that you think is really going to happen, or just gaslighting and cap?
It's cap, and that's why they pulled from the ceasefire. I think recently they just pulled away from it because now it's another way. Like I said, a perception of art imitates reality. So now Iran, they're antagonizing America. They putting out all these AI Lego commercials, telling you what is to come in the future. Yeah, they pretty funny.
not the fact that what's to come in the future, because I'm praying that it don't, but the fact that how they really are, they smashing him, you know what I'm saying, in the real war and in the social media war, and it's actually comical, you know what I mean, like for real, because he is a joke, but they're making a mockery and a joke out of him in real time.
And then also the war, this is all cap because the war has to go on, because when you look at the arts and the political art that's taking place in geopolitics, they show you a illustration of Donald Trump, him being the Messiah, and he reposted it on his Twitter. So, one thing you got to understand about the garments that he had on, the garments that he had on was in alignment with the tarot card with the magician. Donald Trump is a magician. He's a deep state Ashkenazi, Albion European. He's playing both sides. That's why, like I said, that is equated to the dark and the light in Freemasonry, because that represents a synthetic energy of the path of Malakut. So that's what he's doing. He's there. He's the simulations Melchizedek. But in the spiritual realm, the 144,000 is the spiritual is the spirit of Melchizedek, because that energy alone is what cultivates the non-ether energy.
Right. Yeah. And so clearly, for a lot of us, we know this, but there's probably a lot of people who don't know this, but all this is psychological warfare, right? And it's all being deployed every day, to the world citizens, the citizens of the world globally. Can you break down the mechanics of like how the mass formation of psychosis and how that relates to the modern, things that we're seeing in the media and the things that are taking place with this war, and why it's so, I feel like, relevant for them to make sure that they do everything they can to try to break down, the psyche of the people, to make sure that they try to keep us in that lower frequency, or that frequency of fear, or that frequency of, what I'm saying, like just being nervous and just, in a sense of like just living in a sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? In a sense of, kind of like that survival mode, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is it such a big deal for them to continue to keep the world's mainstream society in that type of survival mode?
Because the simulation is a energy extraction, which is the blueprint for the demiurge. And what I mean by the blueprint, because you live in a prison planet, so it sucks up microscopic waves of energy and it uploads the neurons to these cyber clouds. So to keep you in a state of fight or flight, to keep you in, fear, to keep you in survival mode. The reason they do that is to extract the energy from your vessel. You don't just have neurons in your brain. You got neurons all over your body. You know what I'm saying? That is the intelligence. That is the emotional energy. The emotional energy is how they try to make it interface with artificial intelligence.
Mm.
Because it's kind of like the same thing when you're talking about the archonic forces. The archons, they have to mimic what? Human behavior, because they don't have emotions, right? So the best way to do that is to get you so emotional, so much to the point where they extract that energy. You know what I'm saying? So that's what, the moon is. The moon is energy and motion. It's a representation of the square that basically subjugates and stagnates energy.
Mm.
Yep.
So
I guess you could say, the perpetuation of their system is the blueprint for draconian law. Draconian law is what controlled the great majority of everything that was connected to the Piscean Age of Darkness that was in alignment with the Alpha Draconis star system. So what I'm saying is that their laws and their systems of control has to, perpetuate this energy of fear. It has to, because it's an energy exchange.
Yeah.
That's what patriarchy is all about. It's all about capitalizing, from an economic standpoint, or from a resourceful or ecological standpoint. It's all about, capitalizing, to where they create this energy of the have and the have-nots. They got to have somebody being the common denominator within the simulation, because that's how you feed off the vibration of those who were stuck in darkness. That's how you do that. So that's why everything has to have an imbalance. You got one person over here making $50 an hour. You got another person over here making $15 an hour. You got to have the energy of the have and the have-nots, because it creates a synthetic energy of a three-dimensional world, which is basically a two-dimensional world, because you got the illusion of choice. There is no choices. So that means that you have to choose yourself. So, that's what I got.
That's fact. And shout out to the Patreon members and the channel members, because I got a 6-part series of Dr. Blair's work talking about terrestrials, extraterrestrials, and aliens, and it's very powerful work, man. And mind you, shout out and rest in peace, rise in power to the ancestor, the Honorable Dr. Dell Blair. But he recorded that lecture, I want to say in like maybe 2011, if I'm not mistaken. So we're talking about a good 25 years ago. And man, when I tell you everything that he was talking about back then in 2011 is literally manifesting right now before our very eyes, is unbelievable. Like, I mean, it's unbelievable. And as a matter of fact, even I just saw a clip probably about a week or two ago with William Cooper. He, when his interview, what he was talking about, the author of the Behold the Pale Horse. And he was talking about all the different things, saying that was all to come down the pipeline in regards to this demonic, devilish ass establishment that's pretty much trying to put the world into this position of a submission chokehold or what have you. So it's like, it's a real thing, man. And like you said, based upon the books of Revelations, the 7 trumpets, the 7 thunders, all these different plagues and all these different things that's supposed to unfold, I really don't see where there's going to be a stop. The one thing I am curious about, though, is if there's going to be any type of interference with any type of, like extraterrestrial, interdimensional, light beings that get into the mix. Because I feel like if they do start trying to mess around with them nukes, I do feel like that would happen, because there's no way that they could possibly let the nukes go, without any type of interference from a superior power.
This is why I'm gonna tell people. The more you see artificial intelligence enhance, and as far as like graphics or whatever, that's when you really know that there are extraterrestrial entities on the planet. The more these graphics start to get real, that's how you know that they're here.
Yeah,
that's how you know that they're here. Because like I said, the veil is really lifted now, because I told you that alignment that transmuted the planet at a 47-degree angle, that basically put the precessional circle of the equinox back in balance. That alignment of the Regulus with the Sphinx, that was the intelligence that is basically removing the veil completely. That was the intelligence. So what I'm saying is that the Christ energy, the Melchizedek energy is here.
It is.
That's why, what I'm saying, that so it's not a coincidence. Nothing in the simulation is a coincidence. Everything is mathematical. Everything has a mathematical sequence. So they put out Michael, the movie, during the time of Revelation, because we're in Revelation right now. We're in the Great Tribulation period.
Yeah, that's
and what was the other part of the question? What was the other part of it?
Shit, hell, I know. It was in regards to about whether or not if they start playing with the nukes, do you believe that we'll see interference from superior forces like the benevolent extraterrestrials?
I know during the time of World War II, they did like I think it was during the time of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they had bombed and they almost cracked the earth.
Yeah,
they almost cracked the earth during the time of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and that's when they had a meeting with the Intergalactic Confederation, because you have a Galactic Federation, then you have an Intergalactic Federation. So you have these interdimensional entities. They held like a conference with our government saying like, hey, y'all can't be doing this because you're manipulating things that's taking place within the infrastructure of the planet. You know what I'm saying? So you're messing up our society. And that's when they pretty much gave them an ultimatum saying like, get your shit together or we coming to the surface. Yep. I remember Dr. York talked about that some years ago.
Yeah, and it's in that video I just dropped today too, and like I said, in the private communities, because Dr. Blair also talked about it, and he's a contactee. You know what I'm saying? Like he was actually a contactee as well. So it's like, well, Dr. York, he ain't a contactee. He's just a whole, superior being out here in these in these earth streets. But Dr. Blair, is a contactee, and he has, received direct contact from extraterrestrial beings. And so like the video or the audio that I shared today, he was talking about the underground bunkers, he was talking about Doomsday, he was talking about Area 51, all that. He went in on it. But the thing about it, when we talk about the inner earth, when we talk about these advanced civilizations, they really are still here. They always have been. Like you talk about the Agarthas, and you talk about the what's the other inner earth society?
About Rainbow City, Crystal City. And they got
another
Shambhala and Agartha.
Shambhala, that's it. Shambhala, that's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
They also
so all those advanced beings.
Hold on, let me put book right here. Trump Code. Use this as a reference, Mores and Dogma, but read this. Read this and come back to this. And then, hey, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm going to check them out. I don't think I got either one of those.
Yeah, Morals and Dogma is written by Albert Pike. He was a 33rd degree Mason, and he pretty much mapped out the whole blueprint for World War III, where he said the Islamic State is going to be going against the Western powers, which is, Israel and the United States Corporation.
Yep. And we're seeing it happen right now, right before our very eyes.
Yeah, those two books right there, or like I said, or you can collaborate the New World Order too. The New World Order with Ralph Epperson. These three books right here, and my book, of course, those will get you right. Like, according to the timeline.
Can you share them again on the screen? Let me highlight you again so that way everybody get a chance.
The Trump Code, read this. And then come back and use this as a reference point. Go to the table of contents and then just, look at certain things that's in alignment with what you read, or basically certain things that's in alignment with the timeline that's taking place in geopolitics. And then, New World Order by Ralph Epperson.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's real talk.
Yep. So that's what I do. I use this as a reference point, because every book is not meant to be read. Sometimes you just gotta, that's what I do with the other book, the Secret Ages of All Teachings. Now that book is going to be very prevalent after the year of 2030. By
and who's the author of that one?
It's an older publication. The Secret Ages of All Teachings.
The Secret Ages of All
Prince
Teachings.
Hall. Yeah, by Prince Hall.
Ages of.
Yeah, it goes into the metaphysical esoterics of what's taking place on the planet. It really dives deep into spiritual metamorphosis and how to escape the firmament, basically, in so many words.
Yeah, I'm about to check that one out. I don't have that one either. And then in regards to like the control, what is like when it comes to like the cognitive dissonance? Who was I talking? I was talking to somebody recently about all the different I think it was about the solar flares and all this different activity that we got coming from the sun, the solar flares and all that coming in, and how they're constantly trying to block us away from that. And I believe the so-called jab, that whole thing had a lot to do with that too, because there was a lot of cosmic energy going on during that time frame as well, that I feel like a lot of that did tie into them trying, you know what I'm saying, block us from receiving all these downloads, especially those of melanated descent that have, you know, we got the activation G code, you know what I mean, in order to really rise consciousness. So what is the significance of that for them trying to block that? When you talk about the chemtrails, you know, all the different stuff that they're doing, weather modification, all that bullshit. Like, why are they so gun bent or hell bent on keeping us away from receiving these connections to nature and the sun primarily?
It's basically another way to connect you to the energy of the moon, and that's why they use the MQ9 Nano Reaper drone technology. And these are basically smart dust particles to suck up neurons from your body and to manipulate your energy. Because these smart dust particles, the arsenics and the barium that they spray in the air, they make it interface with your chakra system, and then they reverse it. They reverse your chakra system. It's kind of like the same way they did with the LGBT flag. You get what I'm saying? To where it reverses your frequency, it throws you off balance, right? So that's what makes you a devil, because live spelled backwards is devil. So that's what makes you a devil, is the inversion of the energy that's being perpetuated by this simulation. So I forgot the other part of the question.
Shit, me too. But hey, I got plenty more where that came from.
But yeah, that you trying to find another. That's why you said and then you brought up the C19, right? And you notice they were naming the variants after what? Solar frequencies, Delta, Omicron. Because like I said, they know that the atmosphere is starting to change. The atmosphere is starting to change because the spiritual waters is starting to change, right? That's why when you go to these coral reef farms, you know, a lot of these starfish are starting to attack them. Because the coral reefs is basically what gives the intrinsic vibration of oxygen in our atmosphere. So that's basically transmuting the energy of the atmosphere into an omicron-based state, to where the atmosphere has a fourth octave ether based state. So fourth octave ether is where it's nothing but intrinsic ether in the atmosphere. Nothing but ether. And that's solar energy. That's solar energy. That's gamma radiation.
Yeah.
Because that has to interface with the brain. It has to interface with the neuroendocrine transducer, to where you have instant manifestation during that time period. So that's why I said, especially during this time period, be careful of what you think and be careful of what you say.
Yeah.
Because it may manifest.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's holes in the firmament now. There's holes in the firmament. The veil is starting to, you know, become uplifted, you know, more and more. You know, so it's one of those things where, like I said, man, you know, that's what's taking place within that.
Yeah, that's real. And then nature is definitely naturing too, because I see that you have shared something about the dude that got kidnapped by the dolphins. Dolphins are real, and I shared something. Shout out to Wunam. I had shared something probably about a month and a half ago, where a dolphin came and like was swimming, and then it like did a dive. It dove up out the water and back into the water right by some people that was boating. I think they was fishing or whatever. But it was dope because they've been very active, you know, down here in Florida where I'm at, and it's to the point now where there's several times where I'll go by the water and I'll just like telepathically send out pings like, damn, it'd be dope to see a dolphin. And I bullshit you not, I'll see them. You know what I'm saying? I got footage of a few times where it happened. Matter of fact, one time I saw one in a canal that's kind of like where a river in the bay meets. And I've never seen a dolphin there before, but it was dope because I'm like, yo, you know what I'm saying? What is a dolphin doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I've seen them in the bay, but I had never seen one that was pretty much in a river. Now I know sometimes the alligators, sometimes they'll kind of get through, you know, go around close to where the bay is and all that, even though they're primarily freshwater, but I had never seen a dolphin like that. But nature is naturing, bro. And I'm talking about on a whole nother level. So when it comes to the dude who, you know, they say it was a hoax and all that, but you said you believe it was real. The one that was, I guess, kidnapped by the dolphins to come down there under the water to do some work on building, like, what was it he was doing?
He was basically doing some work. I think he was like some type of engineer or whatever, and they needed him for his technology. And the reason I say that, you know, if it really happened, that's really prophetic, because that's connected to Jonah chapter 3 verse 5, where it says that Nineveh shall be overthrown because Jonah was in the mouth of a whale. Now, one thing you got to understand about dolphins, a dolphin is a suborder Odoctocidae. It's basically a whale with teeth. That's what a dolphin is. And one thing you got to understand when you look at the title of dolphin, you got the word fin, right? And fin is
Yeah.
equated to fin, and fin is equated to end. So that means that end is really en, which is Lord. So that means that the dolphins are actually the lords of the water because they're a
Yeah.
branch of the Nomo. You get what I'm
Oh, yeah.
saying?
Oh, yeah.
So that's why, so that's why, that's why they're able to use a certain percentage of their cerebral capacity.
Yeah. Well, they're considered to be some of the smartest, if not the smartest animals on Earth, if I'm not mistaken. As far as mammals, for sure, if I'm not mistaken. Dolphins. Are they ranked higher than monkeys? I think they might even be ranked higher than monkeys if I'm not.
Yeah, I
up
think
there.
so. Because because everything they do is pretty, it has to, because they use like sonographs and stuff like that. So they have telepathic ability. Yeah. So they use that means that they can walk on water. So they're showing you that they're, the embodiment of the Jesus energy. You know what I'm saying? So they can, they can walk on the water a little bit.
Yeah, nah, that's dope though, and let's go into that Nomo thing too, man, because I got quite a bit of knowledge on that because of a lot of research that I've done and a lot of teachers I studied on it. But and hell, Dr. York talked about the Nomos in depth too. But when it comes to the Nomos, they are considered to be aquatic beings, that came from the Sirius star system, right? So they came here, and it said that they were some of the first, progenitors in regards to giving humanity the intelligence that humanity received in terms when it comes to advancing in this whole thing, in the aspects of evolution, right, with humans on Earth. So when it comes to the Nomos and the connections to the dolphins, I know there was I cannot think of the name of it. Was it Owanis? Owanis was considered to be one of the main, I think, teachers that lived, in the water, but would come to the surface of the, to the earth. And I think he might even came on the surface, and I'm saying, or right there by the surface, that gave a lot of intelligence and a lot of information to the people, to humanity. So can you kind of talk about how the relevance of the Nomos and, those deities who were like mermaid or mermen, half kind of like, I guess, I won't say amphibious, I guess half sea people, half human, and how significant their intelligence is in regards to where we are now when it comes to those intelligent water beings.
Well, see, most of the water beings or whatever, I remember there was a guy named Barry Littleton. He talks about extraterrestrial information. He's a black guy, and he has like connections with people who have like UFO contactees and stuff like that. David Wilcock. I've talked to him a few times or whatever myself, but
David
he
Wilcock?
has a lot of no, not David Wilcock. I've never spoken to him. I spoke to one of his colleagues, Barry Littleton. He has a YouTube channel. He has really good. It's he doesn't have a really big YouTube channel, but he has a lot of great information when you're talking about extraterrestrials, because he goes into talking about Bigfoot, and he goes in talking about mermaids and the Nomos and these dolphin entities. But they're here to help give you telepathic abilities. So a lot of those downloads, they're not they're coming from your ancestors. Sometimes they are, but a lot of them is that you have interdimensional entities. You got water entities, Nomos, mermaids, mermen. A lot of them, they're basically interfacing with you to give you an upgrading of intelligence, because they know that we live in the planet is in a degraded state.
Right.
The planet is in the worst state it's ever been. That's why they moved the doomsday clock 85 seconds to midnight. So it was one of those things where they know that the consciousness and the vibration of everything has to go through this perpetuation process. So most of these entities, when it comes to the Nomos, the planet, I believe it was at one point in time, it wasn't no type of landmass. It was a water planet.
Yeah,
it was a water planet at one point. It was a water planet, nothing but water during that time period. And I think that was basically a play or somewhat in alignment to like a genetic mutation of the man and the woman. But I think they was actually talking about like a metaphor for the water giving birth to the land. I mean, there's many different ways to look at it when you get into the esoterics of it. But yes, most definitely, there was a lot of mermaids. There was a guy, it was a European man. He talks about how he's seen big tall mer women coming out of the water, and he said that there were black women.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He said they wasn't like sirens, because you have to be able to delineate So the diametrical difference between a mermaid and a siren is basically like a demonic entity. It's like a
Yeah.
fallen angel version of a mermaid. They even talk about
Yeah.
the sirens in the book of Enoch. And even when you
Mm-hmm.
look at the word mermaid, you got the word mer.
Yep.
Because in the ancients, the ME is basically interchangeable with MU.
Yes,
So that
sir.
means that they the mers of the water, the mermaids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's
Mhm.
connected to the Moors. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So when you're talking about the autochthonous people, that's connected to the indigenous land masses of America. So
Yeah.
yep.
No, that's deep because it goes into a lot of origin stories too. It goes back to ancient Kemet, you know what I'm saying? When we talk about the waters of Nun, it goes to even Ifa
Yep.
and the Yoruba people when we talk about Olokun and Imoja, you know what I'm saying? So it's so many different origin stories that all tie into water beings, you know what I mean? And they're real stories that really have documented receipts to it, you know what I'm saying? Like in Kemet, we got the Kemetic, you know, the hieroglyphs on the walls of the pyramids, and Ifa, Isheshe, I see the origin story in the Oni's Palace in Ile Ife. So it's like these are things I haven't been to Kemet yet, but I definitely saw the halls of Ile Ife where I saw real receipts of documented history from, you know what I'm saying, like real origin stories that have been intact, that have not been infiltrated through colonialization. So these are real stories that really have, you know, valid receipts that's still here with us intact today. So yeah, that's some real
Most
shit.
definitely.
Yes, sir.
Most
But
definitely.
yeah, in the tribing out there with the dolphins. And what's the significance with mermaids? Because I know mermaids, they hold a very powerful I feel like space when it comes to intelligent life forms. You know what I mean? Because with them being the hierarchy of the water, the water deities, and we don't know anything about the water world for real, because I think they know more about space allegedly than they do about the oceans of the planet Earth. So when we're talking about mermaids and the hierarchy of them when it comes to intelligent life forms, what's the significance of mermaids? Because I remember a while back when I first got exposed to your work, you had a video where you were talking about how some of those rich, I don't know if they're millionaires or billionaires or whatever, was going out deep into the water hunting mermaids, and they were trying to, you know, snatch them up and get them so they could eat them. You know what I mean? I guess calling themselves trying to take on some of the significance of the intelligence and the power that the mermaids had. So what's the significance with the mer people and the people of the water, and why are these so-called elites so fascinated with trying to either destroy them or trying to capture them so they can eat them?
I know in the ancient times or whatever, some of the mermaids used to be called merreefs. So a merreef is also a sheriff. A sheriff is a sheriff. So that means that the mermaids are actually the police force for the waters below us. You know what I'm saying? So they're basically like protectors of the waters, the spiritual waters on planet Earth. So but the reason why they want to eat these mermaids is because a lot of these mermaids have immortalized cell lines. So that means that they're able to replicate themselves on an infinite level. So that's what the elites, they're looking for many different vices for immortality. They want to, you know, maintain survival on this planet because they know that they cannot leave. So the only way they can do that is to extract the energy and create this synthetic energy of artificial intelligence. So this is why they want to interface with cybernetics and transhumanism, and this is why they do all the things that they basically doing, you know, in real time. So that's why they, you know, pretty much, you know, I got this book right here.
And to me, it sounds like that's like them trying to do the
Same,
water version of the adrenochrome, right?
like the delectable Negro. This book right here, you know what I'm saying? It just became illegal to stop eating black people, you know what I'm saying, in the 1970s. You know what I'm saying? They stopped eating black people in the 1970s. You know, so it's the same thing with the Egyptian mummy craze, when you had a whole bunch of Europeans going to Egypt and they was eating the mummies because they thought they was going to take upon the intrinsic vibrations of the mummy. But really, in order to do that, you got to understand the metaphysical energy of horizontal gene transfer, conjugation, transformation, and transduction. You got to have the ability to do that by transmuting your consciousness into a different physical vessel. That's how you basically, you know, when you're talking about Thoth, Tahuti, Hermes, it's the same person, but different mythologies. He was just doing horizontal gene transfer. That's why Enoch, who was actually the same person, he lived for about what, 800 years old. It's a transmutation of consciousness, but you got to be open to receive it.
Yeah. That's deep, because what you saying that there's two very significant pieces of work that I feel like really paint that picture crystal clear. One, please tell me you saw the movie X-Men: The Apocalypse.
Yeah. I'm glad you
Okay,
brought
so
that
you
up. It
know what I'm
shows you
talking
in the
about.
beginning.
There you go. When I saw that, I'm like, oh shit! Like they really putting real stuff in a movie. I mean, they've been doing it, but that one, I'm like, yo, that was deep.
You
Can you
got to
break
read the
down the
book.
scene that scene that I'm talking about when they literally did the transfer of kind? We kind of saw it in Get Out too, but not to that level. Like what they did in X-Men Apocalypse, that was literally what we're talking about right now when it comes to the transfer of consciousness.
See, that's what our ancestors was able to do, but with them, they can't do that. So that's like I said, it's the same thing. We got to understand delineation. We get our energy from the sun, they get theirs from blood. So that means that they got to consume something that's basically has more spiritual and physical authority than they do. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's what eugenics is all about. Eugenics is really just all about genetical self-preservation. They have to preserve themselves on this planet because their time is up. That's why they just coming out talking about the doomsday clock every since 2020. The time is ticking because they know that their genetic format is not in alignment to harmonize with the energy that's coming from the true light, which is the star Polaris.
Yes, sir. Or even the planet Earth herself. Like the frequency, of the planet herself is elevating so high they can't keep up. And then on top of that, you got the sun doing what the sun do, and then you got all these different stars beaming through. So it's a lot. It's a lot. They up against it. They up against the doomsday clock. That's what I see. Yes, sir. But yeah, that X-Men Apocalypse though, man. That was like, I need to watch that again because I was so blown. But when I saw that, I'm like, yo, I think I must have watched. There ain't too many times I go to a movie and pay for it in the movies more than once, but that one I know I might have went and saw that 2 or 3 times because of how much symbolism and how much real, metaphysical information was in that movie. Like it was powerful, like to see what they did with that.
Yeah, it was a lot of good information in that movie. A lot.
Yeah. And then and the other piece that I was talking about is, did you read the book The Kybalion? The seven Hermetic Principles by Hermes Trismegistus? Oh no, I think it was by the what are they called? They called them 3 initiates. There you go. Yeah, the Kybalion was to me like the written form that shared a lot of highlighting a lot of stuff that we're talking about right now when it comes to the consciousness and the different levels and varying degrees of consciousness.
Yeah, I got that book. I think it's in my bedroom.
Yeah, that's a dope book too, man. The Kybalion,
that's what we do around. We got them books.
Yeah.
You gotta stay in them books.
Yeah, the Kybalion is a powerful one for sure. So what do you feel like the purpose of? And I don't even know what this damn numbnut. I don't even know if his mind really is intelligent enough or conscientious enough to know the fuckery that he got going on. But what do you think the whole debacle was with Agent Orange presenting himself as the Jesus Christ? Like, what do you think that was about?
He's letting you know that we're in Revelation right now in real time. He's letting you know that he is the embodiment of the Antichrist, because now I'm glad he put that out, because you just had the Pope. He just basically resurrected the Vatican army, where he's going to hire, he's going to have Muslim forces in the Vatican. Yep. So he's going to create this dynamic. So this is basically what's happening. You got this turmoil going on with the United States government and Iran and Israel, China, Russia, Gog and Magog, Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, Revelations 12. We in that time right now. So what's happening is they're creating all this turmoil, while on the other hand, the spiritual hand that is controlled by the Vatican, because the Pope is the viscera of all religions, he's creating this energy of, he's basically setting up the play for the one world religion. Donald Trump, he's setting up one world government. The Pope is setting up one world religion, and that's where they're going to come to terms with something and create some type of peace treaty for 1,000 years. Because like I said, 1,000 years, when you get into time dilation, it's nothing but, it's really one day. One day. So that means that, as I demonstrated in one of my videos not too long ago, I said that, all it takes is one day, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
All it takes is one day to complete something that will take us 1,000 years to do. Everybody got to do is just quit. Yeah, I'm talking about everybody at the same time quit.
Yeah.
Because what I'm saying, that's because that energy in itself is going to create chaos. You're gonna have people dying. Like, just imagine if everybody just quit their job and just quit everything.
It will crush the whole matrix, will collapse. It literally will collapse the matrix.
That's why I
the
said,
crazy part about it, we don't realize it really is just that simple. I think the most challenging part is getting enough people to really believe in it and, you know what I'm saying, buy in. But it really is that simple. They cannot survive without us, period.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So if everybody said, fuck it, I'm done, and just sat down and chilled, the entire matrix will crash and it literally be a wrap just that quick.
One day. It's all everybody. If everybody agreed at a certain time, we done. We dropping everything. You at work, you on your shift right now. You working a machine. Just let that motherfucker just drop.
Yeah,
because that's going to create a domino effect. That is the 100 monkey effect of what one of my elders, Rod Hayes, talks about. Just one day. It's literally, that's all it takes is just stop everything, put your emotions to the side, and just stop. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Your mom or your grandmother might be on life support. That's a part of the energy exchange for us to go to the next level spiritually. You got to quit everything. You got to pull the plug. You got to. That's how you pull that's literally pulling the plug from the matrix. This is the same thing when you playing the damn video game and you tired of it and you can't beat that board. What you do? You hit the reset.
Yeah.
That's all you do. Everybody,
and even in the matrix.
Now.
Like when there was a part in the Matrix where they would pull the plug from Neo. Like that's how they got released from the sleeper cell to literally fall down that chute to go into the Matrix. They had to pull the plug, and then that's when they, you know what I'm saying, shot down the chute. It's a real thing, man. And they show us in real time like what's really happening. But I think the truth is so hard to believe that it really truly is unbelievable. Like it really truly is.
And I think time would literally stop because one thing you got to understand about human beings on the planet is that our etheric vibration is interfacing with the ley lines. And the ley lines is connected to the cosmic clock. The cosmic clock is controlled by the Doomsday clock. And the Doomsday clock is controlled, the Doomsday clock and the cosmic clock is controlled by our neurological clock, which is the suprachiasmatic nucleus. So if you took your mind back and your power back and you just like, I want to quit, you will stop time literally.
Yeah.
You will stop it. Everything will collapse.
Yeah. That's real. Because even if you go, like, for example, I know when I go into a deep meditation, and like I'm in a real good one, it'll be, I think I might be in there for like 10, 15, 20 minutes, but I can mess around and by the time I come out of it, it could have been an hour and a half past. But me being in that state of like nothingness, I'm thinking it's only like 10, 15 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's a real thing because we can literally unplug. And I feel like I've left the body many a times during astral projections or Reiki sessions or just real deep meditations. But it's so profound to know how fast time can go by. But to me, in that state, it seems like it's only a few minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like a matter of time. And I've even experienced that in the mountains too. Like being in the mountains, like the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, or certain different places. Like time doesn't move the same way it does when you're in the city. And I feel like that has a lot to do with all these elf towers, all these different, frequencies and all this bullshit that we're all inundated with these devices and, all the different things that the energy pollution, the frequency pollution that we're all inundated with, it does alter and offset the thing that we know as time. Because when you're in nature and you're not in those elements, and you're not by all these devices, time does not move the same. Like I've even noticed that in islands. I think in the Dominican Republic, I'm like, yo, it's crazy how much I feel like you get of a whole day that, in the States here, it's like a day go by like that. But when I've been in other places, in other countries or in other elements, a day seems like a real day. I don't remember experiencing a day like that since I was, a child, when I was small. Like that's the last time I remember a day actually feeling like the time that it took to elapse to be a day. So that's a really powerful thing, I think.
Yeah, I agree because in between the pillars of severity and mercy is the path of Malakut. Malakut comes from the word Melchizedek. When you get into the etymological roots of it. So Melchizedek is the path of nothingness. The path of the middle way is the path of nothingness. That's exactly what it is. So when you don't do nothing, that's when shit change.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like I said, sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is just stop. Just stop. Take your emotional energy away from everything, people, places, and possessions, and just stop. And that's how they get us every time. It's the emotions. Fear is an emotion. You know what I'm saying? Fear, fight or flight, keeping you scared. But when you take your energy back away from the energy extraction matrix and just stop, that's when you collapse it right there. That's how you beat the game. I think that's the only way you can beat it.
Yeah.
It has to be.
And you know what? You can even look at it in like regular everyday life terms. Like, for example, let's just say I'll just use a workplace. Let's say an old job that I had. I used to work and come to work, people be gossiping, they'd be on the bullshit, you know what I'm saying? Bitching, moaning, crying, whining, whatever the case may be, right? And it got to the point where I just got tired of hearing it because it's grown men who constantly whining and crying about every little thing. So I just stopped talking to people. You know what I'm saying? I'll come to work, put my headphones on, just come in, get my route, do what I had to do and keep it pushing because I didn't want to deal with it. And the minute that I started doing that, it no longer had any kind of effect on me. You know what I'm saying? And not that it had any when it was happening, but I just realized how unbothered I was by just not paying no attention to it. You know what I'm saying? Not communicating with them, not talking to them, not responding to them, not none of it, because frequency and energy is a real thing. And even let's say like relationships or situationships or even like family. If you got somebody who constantly wants to argue, who constantly wants to have drama or beef or chaos or friction, if you feed into it and you go back and forth, you're going to be bothered by it. You're going to be drained by it. All that's going to happen. But if you just say, fuck it, I'm not dealing with it, it doesn't have an effect. You know what I'm saying? Like it just literally, it's almost like a bulletproof vest. It stops and it has no effect and no influence over you. So that's a real thing, man. Real.
And I'm glad somebody in the chat put Jesus loves you. I'm glad you brought up Jesus because the real Lord of the Bible is Melchizedek because Melchizedek is the Christ energy.
Okay.
Because Melchizedek is your higher self.
Yeah. That's facts.
That is the funny, Christ. That's the Christos.
I was on my last call. I was talking about a Bible extremist came through earlier trying to murk up the streets, the Ashe Street.
And then again, on top of that, the letter J wasn't invented until the 1600s. So when you talking about Jesus, it was interchangeable with the letter G, Jesus. What is the inception of the word Jesus come from the word gas, gases. And what is that gas? That is ether. So that means that when you're talking about God as omnipotent and omnipresent, it's the ether in the atmosphere. Tahuti, Thoth. That's why I said Thoth, Tahuti, the same entity, because your thoughts is Thoth, because your thoughts have to interface with what? The ethers, in order to have this alchemy of manifestation taking place in the physical world.
Yeah. Shout out to Nas. All we need is one mic and to spit that ether. Yes, sir.
Yep.
You remember I almost had put out something with ether, but I said, you know what, it ain't.
Oh man, yep.
It wasn't worth it, man. So I wanted to though, but it wasn't worth it. But yeah, that's real, man. But so because I know we're running close on time, I don't see a lot of questions. But family, if y'all got any questions, please throw them in the chat for me. I got a few of them start. But if y'all have any, throw them in the chat for me so I can get a few questions answered before we get up out of here, because we probably got like another 20-30 minutes before we keep it pushing. But what do you see, like, foresee in the very near future, like what's going on with the so-called conflict, with the Middle East? Because one of the things that I don't know how many people are paying attention to, but there's a huge, I feel like there's a huge upswing in the amount of communication and amount of support that we already knew was coming from China and Russia, but more primarily, I would say I've seen more from China, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like standing up like behind Iran, like, look, you touching my money, you know what I'm saying? So like, what do you like, like for real though, because it's like, it's kind of like Big Suge, being behind Pop, like Iran already done tapped that ass, but now not only did they tap that ass, but they got Big Suge behind them in the form of China. Like, yo, we supplying them with all types of, what I'm saying? Like whatever. So what do you see in the next, maybe, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks or 2 to 3 months? Where do you see from just kind of like the research and all the things that you're studying, that you've been into regarding the unfolding of where we're at right now? How do you see that kind of playing out in the next maybe 4 to 6 weeks, the next couple months?
Possible infiltration. And the reason I say infiltration is because it has to go through a seculum of a cycle. It has to go through this, pattern. And this pattern is where you have, like, just during the time of 9/11. Remember that? That's when you had that psychological operation took place, which was really a gold heist. But The reason that took place is because they wanted to implement the Patriot Act, which created mass surveillance, which turned America into a police state. So the same thing is actually taking place in real time when you're talking about Iran, China, and Israel, and in America, right? So it's one of those things where it's like they're trying to create this dynamic to have another form of surveillance, or just to implement new rules and laws and regulations to basically throw off the vibration of the planet. It's, like I said, it's another way. It's kind of like the push-pull tactic. The Hegelian dialectic principle: problem, reaction, solution. Who's the problem? Iran and China. What's going to be the reaction? We go to war. The solution: now you walk outside, you got nothing but drones outside. You get what I'm saying? So it's going to be one of those things. It's nothing but problem, reaction, solution. So they setting up a play to basically, keep us inside of this digital prison, because I also extrapolated in one of my videos. I was talking about how the true embodiment of Leviathan is interconnected to civics and the political systems and government. And the reason I say that is because maritime law is gaining jurisdiction through the Uniform Commercial Code, to where it basically entraps you inside of a digital prison, right? That's what it's really all about, because that goes into the C-19 and how they want to use the psychotronic nanotechnology to manipulate your physical structure, and because the great majority of those nanotechnologies in itself, it's an unaliving switch. So all they guess is kind of like the same thing. Let's just say that they had because all they got to do was hit that button, just like how we got the ability to just quit and drop everything. They have the ability. So it's kind of like one of those things where they're trying to create their reset before nature and humanity resets everything. That's what it seems like.
And shout out to Dr. Phil Valentine, because the last time he came through, he was talking about that too. He was saying not only could they do everything you just said, but he was like, it's to the point now where they're going with it, like they're not even respecting those who have, been, I guess, infiltrated by the jab as human beings. Like they're pretty much to the point where they're trying to like trademark and, like list people as property, because they are, I guess, in essence, kind of like a form of intellectual property from them, because they have now infiltrated them with their, nano data, tech, or whatever you want to call it. And because they can't control people, literally like remote control, like NPCs or remote control cars, they can control people if you have that technology within you. And so it's
they're using that biometric interfacing technology through DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency that just bought out Anthropic, that controls the great majority of artificial intelligence. Right? Everything is an energy extraction. Like I said, they want to suck up the energy. They want to steal the Christ energy from you. You become the Christ when you use your emotions as a navigation system. That's why they want to keep you scared. It's kind of like the same thing that they did with the adrenochrome. In order to reap the benefits of adrenochrome, you got to scare the little person first, and then you do what you do, then you extract the blood. That's how you get the energy. So that means that they're harvesting energy from us, like, keep you, I got to go to work, because you're trapped in time. It's been a lot of times, I'm pretty sure, you know what I'm saying, because I've always had really good jobs. And when you have a really good job, they're very demanding. And there's been plenty of times I done called in on their ass, because, you know what I'm saying, like, because sometimes you need a mental health day. You get what I'm saying? But it's one of those things where, when you're trapped in time and you bounded to a job, you wake up one day and you know what I'm saying, oh shit, I thought you thought you had to get up for work and you was off. Because you're so used to that rhythm. It throws off your frequency. It keeps you in survival mode.
It's indoctrination.
Yep.
It's indoctrination, man. And it's so funny that you say that, man, because I just recall, like, I feel like I've always been a rebel and a revolutionary, because even when I was in the corporate world, whenever I had something to do, at first I would ask and submit the time off, you know what I'm saying, and see if I could get it approved and all that. But then after them smacking me upside my head and telling me no a couple of times, like, man, fuck them. Like, I'm calling out. I'm going where I'm going, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no asking no more. Like I'm taking my damn day, and I'm going to do like a week or whatever it was. I'm gonna do what I got to do because it's just like I guess I innately, like subconsciously or innately, I just knew like fuck them people. You know what I'm saying? You don't care about me for real. So you ain't gonna. I'm not about to be a slave. Like I'm gonna do what I got to do to get these coins for now. But you're not gonna just manipulate every aspect of my life. Fuck them people. It's kind of how I saw it, man. For real.
I do a 2-for-1 on you real quick. I swear I would. I'll call him back to back.
I would hit him with weeks sometimes, boy.
Them jobs be real demanding, man. Especially when you work for like a Fortune 500 company, and you know, because I was an engineer, you know, and everything. But like I said, it's been a year since I quit. But and when you work in jobs like that, you know what I'm saying? I'm the only youngest so-called black, you know, within that crowd. You got some in there, but there's not a lot of us. And the ones that's in there, you know what I'm saying, they placating to them because they trying to get employee of the month type shit. They telling on you and everything. So just working in general is just very toxic.
Because the environment, and it really is slavery. Like it really, really, truly is. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's slavery with a hall pass, or slavery with a what do they call it? Like when they let people that's in jail get a pass where they can go home for like a weekend. It's like a furlough or something. I can't remember what they call it, but that's really what it is. Because if you think about it, you're doing time. You really belong to the establishment, and you only get to really get time for you when they say that you're done and you're through. And then you might be lucky if you got one with Monday through Friday and you get the weekends, but you still got to return right back to the plantation. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it just always was an internal struggle. And then then you factor this in. I don't know if you dealt with it, but I know I did. Then you got these little shitheads that they take their position and you know what I'm saying? They want to be a so-called authority figure because they got the little title and all that, be talking crazy and reckless. And I'm like, man, listen, fuck this job, bro. You're not gonna talk to me like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll take it there. Like, don't play with me. Like, for real. It's a real thing, man. And it's like, but we've seen it. Like, we've seen people who snap and go postal. And I'm not making light of that, but that's the thing. You can't play with people because you don't know. Everybody don't let everything slide. You know, that's something I always share with people. Everybody ain't letting everything slide. So you gotta be very careful how you run it up on people because everybody ain't letting everything slide, and some people might come and knock your head off. You know what I'm saying? So you got to really.
And that's another thing. And Donald Trump, he just signed a new bill to where he's dumping more money into the economy, which is going to cause mass inflation. So they're basically trying to crash the dollar.
Well, that's what this is all about, though. This whole war really, I feel like, primarily about that. Okay. And I'm glad you brought it up because we got a little bit more time left. So that is what this war is about. We know that, and that's what they're trying. That's what they're in the process of doing. So now, when that does happen, we know that they're setting everything up to go digital to take it to the blockchain. So now, what is the significance of them getting rid of the dollar, the whole fiat dollar and all that stuff, but then transitioning the whole Western, especially the Americas, financial economy or financial currency into a digital currency and the blockchain? Like, what is all that about? What's their motive behind that?
A smart city energy grid system. They want to build that. They want to build a smart city energy grid system to where they interface with humans, basically. So that's what it's really all about. Is to control humans through the smart cities. Right. So that's why you can look at everything like just how the buildings look really bland. They want to keep you stuck in a prison. It's like a prison system, and they want to keep up that philosophy going on. But that's why when you get to LA or just California in general, they want to build the first smart cities there. So that's how you know that there's going to be a psychological operation that's going to be taking place on that geographical landmass. That's how you know it's going to be there first. So they got the Capitol Tower building in LA. So something's going to transpire in LA to where they got to build these smart cities, and they want them built by 2028.
Do you think that's tied to, like, we've all heard about it and it's been prophesized forever, but about LA kind of breaking off and breaking off into the ocean?
Yeah, you got to watch the movie with Patrick Swayze. He was known as Snake Plissken. In that movie, it shows you how it's a post-apocalyptic movie, and in that movie, it's called Escape from L.A. And it shows you how the great majority of California went underwater, and the ones who survived, it was like a third world country, basically.
I don't think I've seen that. I'm gonna check that one out. I don't think I saw that.
I think it was so bad to the point where they made that whole state a prison. Because I think it was exiled from the rest of the states of America. It was exiled.
Yep.
Wow. Yep. And we also watched the movie with Patrick. It's not Patrick Swayze. Kurt Russell is his name. Kurt Russell.
Which movie?
Because Patrick Swayze and Kurt Russell look the same.
They do. They're like doppelgangers. Which movie? Which movie are you talking about with Kurt Russell?
Escape from L.A. and Escape from New York.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. I'm a movie nerd. I'm a movie nerd, man. So I stay in the 80s and the 90s movies.
I tell you what.
It's not Michael Douglas. It is Kurt Russell.
Listen, real quick, because I know there was somebody, I don't know who it was. This might have been like, I don't know if it was this week or last week, but somebody had left a dope comment and they was like, yo, can you please like give me a book list in regards to like what you feel like some of the most relevant books are, you know, what's happening to like that's relevant to what's happening right now. And I was like, you know what, that's a dope show. I might need to make a show or a playlist about that because there's so many different works and so many different teachers that I feel like their works are relevant. So with that, can you kind of share, I know you shared like 2 or 3, but can you kind of share like a list that you would give to that particular audience member who wanted a list? I feel like they were just coming into consciousness based off of the way that they posed the question, to kind of catch them up to speed in regards to where we are right now in 2026.
Okay, I'm gonna show you the ones that I've been reading and some of the stuff I'm gonna read.
Hold on, let me highlight you real quick. I'm gonna put you on highlight.
All right. Get this book right here by John Henry Clark, Christopher Columbus and the African Holocaust. That'll be significant during this timeline. This is a good metaphysical book. The Ancient Flower of Life by Giovanni Melchizedek. Then I got Dr. B's book. I ain't read this one yet. What's Eating You? Goes into like metaphysics and stuff like that. I ain't really read, touched in on that book. Codex Esoterica by the Hidden Human Knowledge. It talks about how the moon interfaces with the gematria body. I ain't read this one yet. This is The Way of the Superior Man. This is on my next list right here. And if you're a woman and you deal with a man who's very powerful, you got to read this book right here.
That's a dope book too. I love that book. Yep. I got the audio book.
This is probably my favorite book that most of the books I've read. Autonomy.
Can you pull that one back up?
Autonomy. And then the Green Book. Read this right here. You got to read this. This is a good read. By Muammar Gaddafi. And this book talks about the collapse of democracy and also how to revitalize everything once you have the collapse of democracy. The Delectable Negro. I already told you guys about that. Morals and Dogma. New World Order. Trump Code. I ain't read this one yet. Black People Invented Everything by Dr. Sawan Kamar Das. We Are Not Black by Truth Ali. And this is a good read right here, Tartaria. The One World Tartarians, the greatest civilization ever erased. So that's what I've been, those are the publications that I got on deck.
Yeah, that's dope. In fact, I think I'm gonna have to do like a books list and a movies list to really
get my book.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, you should. Yeah, that should have been the first one. But pull it back up. Hold on. Let me
Yep.
And then where can they find it? Can you get it on Amazon or your website, or where can everybody find your book at?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
And I'm working on my second book. Actually, I already got the cover art and everything done for it.
That's
and it's gonna be based up. It's gonna be based upon the timeline from 2027 to 2030. I mean, the 2043.
That's what's up. Okay. How much? I know we're getting close on time. How much time you got left, bro?
We got about 20 minutes.
20? Okay. Let me pull up some questions real quick there, and then that way I can go ahead and ask my last few and close this thing on out. Shout out to find your Zimmy. Zimmy Locks in the building. Zimmy says, how do we detox from chemtrails? Great question, Zimmy.
Go to a steam room or a sauna. Anytime you see those crisscross chemtrails in your atmosphere, go to a steam room or a sauna and extract that, the sweat out of your body. So that means that you have to purify yourself and purge yourself of those toxins that has a lot of psychotronic metals in it. Yep, it has a lot of nanotechnology arsenic in it. So, yep, going to a steam room or a sauna, you gotta sweat.
How long do you recommend sitting in the steam room or sauna?
3 times, I say go about 2 or 3 times a week, and I sit in there for about 25-30 minutes. But if it's your first time going, just go for about 10-15 minutes. Yep.
I see.
And you gotta sweat, because if you're not sweating, you got the same energy as a pig, because a pig doesn't have sweat glands. Because the pig is really the devil of the animal kingdom. Yeah, because a pig is nothing but a banished human. That's why when you look at a pig's eyes, it got human eyes. And then you got to get into the fact that the pig, it comes from the 4th seed of the Canaanite, which is the Girgashite. So that means that the pig is actually a human.
That's deep, because pigs' eyes, they do look just like a person's eyes, for real. That's crazy.
And another thing about the pigs is that they're able to, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he has a pig heart inside of his chest. And matter of fact, a lot of the Nazi soldiers that they had in Nazi Germany, I did a transmission about this. Hitler, a lot of his super soldiers and his clones, because he got his Pleiadian cloning technology from Ashtar Command, and they taught him how to do like genetic hybridization, and they was taking the pig's heart and they was putting it inside his super soldiers.
I did read about that in Doc's work too, about the Ashtar Command and all that. But what I didn't know about the Schwarzenegger though, what was the deal with that? Like, what's up with the story?
I think he had some heart problems going on.
Wow.
He had some heart and I got the guy from Universal Soldier. I think
Dolph Lundgren.
That the movie came out in 95, but I believe he has a pig heart too. And then I think the Rothschild who died, he kept getting heart transplants.
I remember hearing about that.
He had a few pig hearts as well.
That's crazy.
That's how you know they the devil. That's how you know. That's how you know the Canaanite is the devil. That's how you know. Because a pig. When you look at a lot of these the popes of antiquity and just papals or whatever and Catholic priests, a lot of times when they doing an exorcism, they bring a pig in, because when they transmute the spirit from the person, they put it inside the pig, because the entity has to go inside of a person who was operating on the lowest frequency. So a pig is on a low frequency. So what they did was they extract the spirit, the demonic energy, from the physical vessel of the person that was basically, in a state of zombification, and then they take that demon and they put it inside the pig. Then they slit the pig's throat. Yep.
Was that in a movie? For some reason, that sounds real familiar to me. Was that in a movie before?
Yeah. It was.
I feel like I've seen that somewhere before.
It's an exorcism movie. It's an exorcism movie. Yep.
Yeah.
But a lot of the Catholic priests of antiquity, that's what they used to do.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the pig is really the pig is really an amalgamation of rat, cat, and dog. Also, it's a hybrid.
Yep. Wow. Yeah, that definitely it sounded like it rang a bell for me when you said it. It definitely rang a bell. I remember seeing that somewhere. That's nuts. Okay. Let me get back to see these. My bad for not being able to keep up track. They were going in about that work stuff.
Yeah.
Shout out the Maya said the Maya Israel Fitness Rose said, yeah, exactly. Why am I asking if you always say I know that's right? Look, it's like the bully, they can only slack you in the head 1 or 2 times if you let them, because after that, boy, you get fed up, boy. You got to turn around and fire on them. You got to let them know, not today. But yeah, that's real though. Shout out to Crystal Child Rising, owning my own business. I know that's right. But let me get to these questions. This one is not a question, it's a comment, but I did save it because I wanted to get your I wanted to hear your thoughts on this one. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me see. So Leslie Butcher 5521 said, you guys have no clue what's going on with Trump. He is a starseed that he came here to disrupt the deep stage, and that's exactly what he's doing. He has a galactic alien guided to change the evolution of humanity. So what's your thoughts?
I mean, I can see why some people, give credence and veneration to Donald Trump, but the reason that is because he has to play both sides. He has to restore the republic because of the timeline we on. You can't bring a democracy in the sun cycle. That's a conflict of interest of energies. You cannot have a democracy during the sun cycle set. So that means that the new republic has to go through this process of resurrecting the matriarch. That's what we're basically in right now. So also, when it comes to Donald Trump, you cannot negate the fact that he is controlled by Israel, right? So if he's controlled by that, demographic, essentially that basically means that he is controlled by Shaitan, who is the devil, who is your personification of the physical devil of this realm, the beast system. So it's one of those things where you cannot use, he can't be your Messiah archetype or anybody who, who has the archetype of, being a savior. He can't be that truly because he's part of a system that has to, subjugate a certain demographic of people in order for their systems of control to basically work. So that's what I'm so, with that being said, it's one of those things where Donald Trump, he's just being used as a catalyst to kick off the Great Awakening period. That's all it is. That's what he's being used for, nothing more.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yes, he's hitting the reset button, but at the same time, he is controlled by Israel.
Yeah, it's a lot of good ones in here. I'm trying to get a few more. All right, well, yeah, we're gonna have to do something about a book list, man. I know I'm gonna definitely do something, but I'm seeing a lot of comments about book lists and probably movie lists too. So I think that's gonna be a good series I might have to put together, man, because there's a lot of good information out there that I feel like is is extremely relevant. It can kind of be, I feel like, segmented into sections too. Like we could hit like things that are related to like real life and reality. We can hit things that's metaphysical. We can hit things that's spiritual. We can hit things, so many different dynamics like that. The Way of the Spirit, man, that's a very powerful piece of work, bro. And it's like, I love it because the title can be misleading in a positive way. Because if you looked at it and thought about it, you would think that it was really just about men, men in positions of power, things of that nature, but it's not. It's really, I feel like it's like a psychological, emotional type book, educational book, because it taught me a lot about relationships. And it also taught me about a lot of things that I have to work on within myself as a man, to be in alignment with, I feel like, what will be the equivalent of a divine superior woman. You know what I mean? So it's a very powerful piece of work, man. So that's a dope book that I can co-sign that.
Because unity during this time period is a representation of the true Trinity. So during this time period, you gotta have a divine feminine and a divine masculine. Y'all gotta work together.
Yeah, that's fact. Synchronicity, man. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's gonna be a dope one. Okay, let me get back to. It's gonna be hard to keep up with all these comments, so let me get back to the couple of questions. So let me see. King Shocker says, "What do you think about begonia?" The hell is begonia? You know what that is?
No, I don't know what that is.
It might have been King Shaka. If you still on the stream, man, if you could rewrite your question. I'm not sure, but maybe it might be a typo. I'm not sure about this one, but Supermind said Jesus is Isis, which is a woman, the first woman before man ever existed. What's your opinion on that, bro?
Yes, as far as like in a physical sense, yes, because as I demonstrated, you know, Easter comes from the word Ishtar, and Ishtar is the personification of Isis and Aset in ancient Kemetic spirituality. So when you're talking about Easter, you're really talking about the resurrection of Isis, not Jesus. And then, you know, even with that, yes, the woman came before the man because there's a metaphysical thing about parthenogenesis, where, you know, the man was basically extracted from the woman. And even when you look at the nomenclature title for female, because a female is interchangeable with the word phi, and phi becomes foe. It's basically, you know, phi and foe is representation of the man and the woman. So a female or phi male comes before every entity on this planet. So that's how you know who was here first.
Yeah, and I think most of the people, if not all the people on this channel, especially the ones that have been around for a while, are deep into the Ashe channel, know how we feel about the divine feminine. There's no argument with that. Like, I mean,
Dang, I just had a download. Remember what did the Giants say? Remember what the Giants say? Fee, fi, fo, fum.
Yep. Yeah.
Talking about man and woman.
Yeah.
So, like I said, they show you the hierarchical. He says fee, fi, female. So that's how you know who was here first. Phi, Phi.
That's facts. I mean, but even if you look at the like scientifically, you go into anthropology, the oldest human remains ever found on this planet was that of a female. You know what I'm saying? Like that to me, I don't. Yeah, and I think there might even be one that might even predate that, if I'm not mistaken. Is it Arthropithecus or something like that? I'm not sure, but either way it goes, they're the remains of a female.
There's another. Female. That's the main reason why a lot of women are iron deficient. So because somebody in the chat just put the title for iron, the nomenclature is Fe, and Fe is equated to the female, and they're iron deficient because the energy is being manipulated by the frequencies that's coming from the moon. It's pulling on their energy. Yep.
And you know that's deep because now I just had to download. Now, with you saying that, can the deficiency also play a part with the menstrual cycle, being that they, you know what I'm saying, the loss of blood during that time, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, blood, you know what I'm saying? Like that's deep because all that to me sounds like it's all tied together too.
It is. It's an energy exchange. It's a ritual.
Yeah.
It's a ritual to basically subjugate the divine feminine energy. And the reason I say is because that most women, you're not supposed to have a period. The more you enhance yourself spiritually, the more your period is going to go away. It's going to
I believe there's
go
some
away.
truth to that. I believe there's truth to that. And the reason why I say that is because I know there's certain females that those who are tapped in spiritually, and especially if they have a healthy habit with diet and like exercise and, you know, things of that nature, most females that I know of, their menstrual cycle can last mostly like maybe 5, 6, 7 days. But some females that I know of that are tapped in spiritually and, you know, they eat healthy, they work out, they say theirs might last 2 or 3 days, if that, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like all that's tied into, you know, everything that you just explained.
Because you ain't got so many things pulling on your energy, because you're taking your own energy back. You're taking your power back, because now you're not interfacing with the matrix. You're interfacing with, hey, let me do this different. Let me go work out more. Let me go eat better. Let me drink more water, whatever the case may be. So that's another way to interface with your higher self, which basically depletes the energy that's sucking all your energy. You know, the moon sucking all your energy. It depletes that aspect of it. Yep.
Yeah,
because that's what the moon is. Because I told you, the moon is an artificial celestial megastructure. It was told into our solar system to create this energy of patriarchy, to subjugate the woman. So moonfall is the fall of the corporation. And the fall of the corporation is the fall of mankind.
It's fallen. And family, when we talk about the fall of mankind, we ain't talking about us. We talking about a kind of man, which is different from us.
Yep.
And what did the great philosopher named Sir Kendrick Lamar say? They not like us. They not like us. For real. Okay. Let me get about 2 more in here because I know we run up on that time, family. My apologies if I don't get to your question, family. I'm gonna definitely try to get to as many as I can. So King Shocker had another question. I get this one. So is Leviathan connected to extraterrestrials or UFOs?
I would say that is because yes, because as I demonstrated in my last transmission talking about Michael Jackson, when you raise up your Kundalini energy, when you raise up your Kundalini force and it strikes the pineal gland and it activates the medulla oblongata, what happens is you're able to activate your Merkaba because that's where crystallization starts to take place. Because the Merkaba wheel, it turns 7 times in order to activate your 7 human circulatory systems. And once those things are basically in alignment, that's when you become your higher self, you become your God self, right? That's why Krishna and Shiva translates to the word 7, right? Because that means that your neurological frequencies and your bandwidth has to harmonize with the 7th heaven, which is the Orion star constellation. So you got to become the spaceship. Because like I said, ain't nobody to come back and save you. So that means that you got to become that spaceship by way of, being in alignment.
Yeah, you got to activate that Merkaba.
Yep.
Let me see. Okay, I'm gonna hit one more and then we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up. At Empress Me, I'm gonna share yours, but we're gonna work on that. I'm gonna definitely work on creating a book list, and then I'll even see if maybe I can set something up with Brother Bdell. We could dedicate maybe a half of a show, or maybe even the whole show, to sharing our book list and movie lists, etc. Because I do feel like that's something that's very relevant for people who are in different phases and different aspects and parts of their journey. So I'm gonna definitely work on that. Matter of fact, I'm even see possibly getting with the elders to kind of create some sort of book list too from a time frame before ours. But here's I think it's a really relevant one. So I'll use this one for the last question. Shout out to I'll do 2. If you got time, I'll do 2 more if you don't mind. I got this one is a really good one. Shout out to at Margot Mangrum says, why was the book of Enoch taken out of the Bible?
Because it talks about extraterrestrials, talks about sirens, it talks about the giants. I talked about how the giants in the book of Enoch, they said that the giants was 9 cubits. 1 cubit of a man is 18 inches. You take 18 times 9, 163 divided by 12, that's 13.5 feet. So they telling you that there is giants and Nephilim, unicorns, mermaids all throughout the Bible. In the book of Enoch, it tells you about that. So that's one of the main reasons why they took it out. And then also with that, this is how you get unicorns, because a lot of the Nephilim that came down, they started to mate with, a lot of the animals that's in our ecological systems. So a lot of these Nephilim, they was mating with horses, and that's how you got the I forgot what the word is, but it's like a Tauros man. I forgot his name. Forgot the name of it.
Plantoro, something. I know what you're talking about. It's like got a humanoid upper body, but the lower body of that body, kind of like the Sphinx, but it's a humanoid upper body with the horse of a lower body, right?
Yep.
Something Santoro, Kentoro, something Toro. I know that it has some Toro to do with it.
So a lot of these Nephilim, they had horns too. That's how you're able to delineate the cherubim from the seraphim. So a lot of these Nephilim, when they came down, like I said, they started to mate with a lot of the animals. They made it with the horses too. So that's how you get a unicorn.
That's crazy. It's called
a unicorn is nothing but a unicorn is nothing but a horse and a Nephilim amalgamating together.
Kentaro, that's what it is. A Kentaro.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Oh, no, centaur. It's a centaur.
Centauro. Yeah, there you go. Centaur. I appreciate y'all, family. I knew it had something to do with Terrator or something. Okay, appreciate y'all, family. All right, so there's one last one I saw. It was a dope one. I will end it with this one. So shout out to Empress Me. They've been dropping some dope comments and questions. So the last question is, so when do we overthrow them? we're all saying the same thing, and the system is corrupted. So when, and I would add, how do we overthrow them? But when?
As I demonstrated, all it takes is one day. Just quit. Everybody quit on, but like I said, it's going to be hard to do because some people are computer generated spirits and souls on this planet to the point where they're manipulated by the frequencies to the point where they have to go to work. Some people want to go to work. So that's another reason why it'll be hard to do because, some people, they really don't have a purpose or a life outside of their jobs. So it's going to be hard to tell a person that be like, if everybody just quit, we can just take the planet back. Some people are not going to do it, but that's how you overthrow everything because it creates the hunter monkey effect. Once everybody does it, that's when the system collapses. Because that shuts down the money system, that shuts down time, that shuts down the food industry. You just quit everything and live off the land. But also at the same time, there's an affliction that comes along with that because there's going to be planes falling from the sky. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be all types of stuff going on. That's a purification period.
And I would say this to add to that. I wholeheartedly feel like some people just love the reality that we live in. They appreciate and like they love this fuck shit. Like they really do. I really feel like a lot of people, there are a lot of people who really are cool with this. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want it no other way. I feel like this is what they want. And I feel like the behavior and the actions of those types of people, it shows. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but I definitely feel like we got the ability that we will, we'll succeed and we will crash the matrix. Yes, sir. All right, man. So with that, family, I appreciate all y'all for the love, the support, the comments, the feedback, man. Definitely was another powerful one of them ones. And Brother Bdell, before we get up out this thing, man, let the people know where they can find you, how they can support you, and what you got going on until we get back into the next war report, man.
You can find me on YouTube at BDELL1014. You can find me on Facebook at Bdell Rice Bay, BRYDELLRICEBEY. You can find me on Instagram at Bdell1014 and TikTok at Bdell1014. And you can find my book on Amazon, The Sacred Book of the Chosen, Great Awakening. It's on Amazon. Salute to everybody in the chat and prepare for what's going to be taking place, as we transition through this Great Awakening period, because, things is going to get hotter as we, get into the apex of the summertime, because we're basically at the brink of the 250th anniversary that's going to be taking place on July the 4th. So just from my own independent research, that can be the time where you can have this infiltration process to the point where you have a psychological operation happening on American soil. So it's one of those things where, just be prepared for anything if you live in bigger cities.
Ashe. All right. That's what's up, man. And I'll definitely have, all of Bdell's contact info, his channels, all that good stuff in the show description. So it probably won't be actually active and live until tomorrow, but I'll definitely get all that in there on all the shows and live streams. I'll make sure that I put all the ways to contact all the guests on there to support, all the teachers and the philosophers and the healers and all those that come through and show love and share love and enlightenment and empowerment on these Ashe streets. So with that, man, I definitely appreciate you, brother. We'll definitely make it happen in divine time again, man. I'll definitely reach out to you, see when we can set up the next one and make it do what it do. So family, I appreciate all y'all. Appreciate the love and support. Shout out to everybody who made it to the first live stream. Shout out to everybody who doubled down and came back for this one, man. Nothing but love, support, appreciation always. And I'll see y'all on the next episode, family. We out. Peace.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
You already know. Yes, sir. So I'll at you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
No problem. Thank you.
All right, Try. I appreciate y'all. So I'll definitely see y'all. Matter of fact, I think we'll be back Saturday night, working on putting something together with Wunam. So I'm gonna lock that one in, and then I'll definitely be sharing the links. And we'll see y'all probably this weekend, family. So once again, I appreciate all the love, support, the feedback, the comments, the shares, the emails, everybody that, like putting me on the game with different things that I haven't seen, different things I haven't learned and watched, all that good stuff. Shout out to Sekhmet my aunt, Miss Mariana, and all the other tribes and all the other guests that have made Ashe what it is. I give gratitude and thanks, family. We'll see y'all Saturday night, fam. We out. Peace.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sí ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and praise your